Get watch, piss me off. I done got a little bit, I turned around, I got across the border, leave your last. I tried to run back around with my hand.
I gave my dad a look. I still got that look. And he knocked it out. I still got that look. That man looks like an old camera. Back in the day. And somehow it broke. My mother was right. I want to buy that. It's going out. I want to stay at the door when I was all night. No, my father woman loved my room. I don't know that. Yeah, my birthday. You know what cycle I just broke this year? I was in jail for 4 years. Yes. I can't lie. I wake up early and eat. I so my birthday, even one year, I had for 2 weeks. I had it have to be at my birthday. I'm like, man, so this year I had to walk my register. Now I'm not going to you still.
Muhammad is high here, Muhammad. I don't know what you think, Muhammad. You got Saeed, man, too. Yeah. You already go through all the man. You cold. Down. Muhammad, you cold? Muhammad, you cold? Yeah.
There'll be somebody else sitting in the chair next to me. Because it won't be me. There's something saying you should make fun of it. I don't be me. Why did you wait till he had to show up for that?
Y'all have a good? Hey, be good, be good.
They got there on 4 minutes. I say, don't make it night. I don't need to be out. I said, big one, man. What you do? My finger fell in front. I got it. You good?
You ain't gonna remember. It never does. I think.
Yeah.
We got that kid, look. Got that Look, you can see that kid. No, it worked. As long as
Good morning, everybody. See you in the top.
Morning. All right.
Now we're ready.
I do appreciate you guys. We have the tap G. He's
Yeah, no,
HSC.
yeah, the one's still going around.
It's I'm the only guy. But just so you know, I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. And so if I fall over,
We'll catch you.
You know.
Hey, Doc, got a question.
Well, see, that's, you know, you're going to have a good group when you get questions before you get started. Yeah.
Got that one question.
Okay.
How's the wife?
Well, wife's doing a little bit, she's doing a little bit better. She's, not tomorrow, Wednesday, she's supposed to have a CT scan on her face and head and nose and all of that. But they've already taken x-rays and stuff, and she's going to see if she can talk them out of it. But, you know, I don't know if that's a good. But she's doing better. You know, she's had both knees replaced back in the day, and she fell on those knees, and that's what's really causing her some discomfort right now. So, you know, thank you for asking.
Very well.
So, this week is Family Week. Yeah. So, you know, we're going to talk about how important family is and all of that kind of stuff, and see if we can't get some.
Wait to use the words
So if you don't know what family means, I will help you with that. That's a group of people who hang out at your house most of the time. We're going to talk about mostly this week about how important it is for the family to be part of our recovery. Sometimes it's more important for the family not to be a part of our recovery. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. The first thing that we're going to do, you notice the board here, and so here, this guy, he represents us. He's the victim. He's the guy with the disease. But all of these others around him are who?
Friends.
family members.
Family members. Talk about family. What does family mean?
Familiar.
Familiar?
The offspring.
Offspring? Yeah, we can see a lot of support there. People like your brothers and sisters, your mom and your dad, uncles and aunts, and all of those people are, we understand that they're family. A lot of times, though, there are people who are not blood related to us who can take on that role, right? I mean, I grew up with a lady that I called Aunt Janie a whole lot. And she, you know, it wasn't until I was 16 or 17 or something like that that I discovered that she was not part of my family at all. She was, you know, just a friend of my mom. And so, you know, we just started calling her that. And, you know, so other people, other than people who are blood related to you, can take on those roles.
No.
So they can take on those roles. And so friends and family and all of those kinds of things kind of get in together there. And we need to know that some of those people need to be very important in our recovery. They can support us on a level that a whole lot of people can't. And, you know, they're going to be there to support you once your counselors are done with their deal. Once when you're not able to go to a sober support system or somebody that's your sponsor or something like that, they're going to be there. So one of the things we're going to look at really quickly, and I know that it kind of seems funny, we may not see right off how that interacts with that, but it really does. We need to know if we're getting back into contact with our family and stuff like that. Sometimes there's an issue with our family, right? Sometimes y'all know, I've already told y'all, I have issues with my family, and some of them I haven't seen for many, many years. Some of them I doubt I will ever see again, and that's their choice. I'm willing to make amends and all of that kind of stuff, but they don't want to hear it, so it's something I have to live with. And I've told y'all this, my brother and I are getting back into contact with one another, my little brother and my younger brother, and it's my turn to call him this last weekend. Guess what I did? I forgot again. You know, it's so easy to forget when I'm tired of doing things, and then I sit down and I work, and about 7 o'clock, I'm supposed to call him, and I'm pretty sleepy and all of that, so I forget. But I'm going to call him tonight. I am. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I know. But we did talk. Not this weekend, but not last weekend, but the weekend. So getting a little bit better at that. I didn't call him; he called me though. So one of the things that happens to us is that our family sometimes become estranged. We talked about that. What does that mean? If my family is estranged.
Far away.
What was it?
Far away.
Far away?
I was kind of like some time really close to each other to just your relationship. They're out there somewhere.
Yeah, estranged, the word estranged means that I have an issue, I have a problem. Not necessarily geographically far away from me, but not maybe physically far away from me, but mentally and spiritually they're far away from me in the way that we're thinking and all that kind of stuff. So estranged means just my relationship is not what it's supposed to be. This says estranged. A lot of us come into treatment, we get into our recovery, and we have family members that are estranged, and that we have a whole bunch of family estrangements, broken relationships that may be in various stages of turmoil. You're actively avoiding or in direct conflict with more than one family member, trusted friends, or partners. There's people in your life that you have issues with. And I will tell you this, that a lot of the people in my family that I have issues with, it stems from my addiction. Lots of folks, lots of stuff going on that it's stemmed from all of the stuff, my addiction. And I can blame a lot on my addiction because, while I was in the midst of my addiction, I did stuff. And, you may not have. That's a good thing. But I did. I did some stuff. There's people who their lives are forever changed because of the stuff that I did. And so, and I can fully understand why those people don't want to have any more to do with me. Even though my life has been straightened out, my life is good. I've given my life to my higher power, and the things that I was doing back then, I'm not doing now, and I'm planning never to do any of those things again. They still have those issues with me, and I understand that. I do understand that. So, if we're estranged from our family, there are some of them. This guy here looks a little bit estranged from his family. This is his family over here, and I don't know who they are, but they're his family. It's going to be a brother and sister and daddy, whoever it is. This is a younger person over here because he just came in the scene kind of lately. And there don't really know who that is, but he's part of that family thing there. So he's kind of estranged from some of those people because of some of the things he did. One of the things that we need to do when we're trying to get back with our family, trying to rebuild some trust, trying to rebuild some relationships, is to take a real good close look, Dakota, at our family instead of his paper. And see, look, there's some of my family members I really need to be close to. Some of them are positive. Some of them are wonderful people that I know is going to help build my recovery. I need to be with those people. There's other people in my family that are still users. They're still using methamphetamine. They use alcohol really, really heavily and stuff like that. I don't need to have a relationship with those people. Why is that?
It's a distract you.
If you get that,
Absolutely. 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 If I go back around someone who is using, then it's going to make me want to do the same. It's going to make me want to do the same thing. I'm going to want to use as well. So there are some people who are close to me and all of that kind of stuff who really may care for me, but would not be really healthy for me to be around. And so I need to look at my family members and choose which ones I think are going to be very helpful and healthy for me, and the ones that are not. And look, down through the years, I've had 100 people at least tell me I can't tell them who to go to and who to go back around. But look, we all know that going back to old people, places, and things is one of the things that's going to actually get us when we go back out there. Most people who relapse come back and tell me the same thing. I went back to Mary. I went back to Bubba. I went back to this person. I went back to that relationship because I thought I could help them or because I thought I had a hold of it and I could do it. And so, we need to take that seriously and take a look at it. I'm not telling anybody not to go back to anyone. What I'm telling you is take a look at that and see how you're going to be able to deal with that. And 99.9% of the time, we're not going to be able to. So if we want to get the positive people back in our life, we need to be able to do that. One of the things that we need to be able to do, and this doesn't seem like a family thing, but it is to self-regulate. What does that mean? Yeah, self-regulate. Raise your hand.
I think it means something like sit down for yourself, self-realization for yourself, know what you can and handle.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Set boundaries for myself. Sometimes I need to set a boundary on myself. Not usually when I have boundaries, and usually when I set boundaries, I set boundaries on other people. This is what I'm not going to allow you to do in my life. That's a boundary that I have set, but I've set it for some other people. I need to have that boundary set up in my own life. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that. Usually self-regulation, when we're talking about self-regulation, and the reason that it marries itself into our family relationships is that usually when we're talking about self-regulation, we're talking about emotional things. I need to regulate my own emotions. Because in a great scheme of things, who is responsible for my emotion? I'm responsible for my own emotion. And so I need to be able to regulate my own emotion. If I can't regulate my own emotions, it makes it really, really hard for me to go back to my family members and things like that. Here's one of the big reasons is that we do go back to old family members that might be dangerous for us is because we have an emotional tie there. We're emotionally bound to that person. And so I want to go back to that person because why? I love that person. Yeah, they've been with me my whole life. I love that person. Yes, they're using methamphetamines. Yes, they're using alcohol. Yes, they're using marijuana. They're doing all of these kinds of things. But, I love them and I want them in my life, so I'm going to go back to them. So I'm not really doing really well at regulating that emotion in my life. So we need to look at some of that. Here's the deal. We can feel triggered at any time emotionally. Knowing how to self-regulate is crucial for maintaining mental well-being, physical well-being, spiritual well-being. Triggers can stem from a lot of different places: past traumas, stressful situations, unexpected events. When we don't manage our reactions, it can lead to heightened anxiety, emotional outbursts, and strained relationships. And what happens when that goes on like that, a lot of the times it will cause me to go back to the use of my drug. My biggest coping skill when I was outside and I was still using was the drug that I was using. That's my coping skill. So when I got stressed out, when I got angry, when I got my feelings hurt, and any of those things were going on, then I would go get a bottle of vodka, and before you know it, everything's fine. For a few minutes, everything works out. So, understanding, practicing self-regulation. Practicing self-regulation techniques can help you to stay calm and centered. Absolutely. You've been in group for 15 minutes. How you made it that long? I don't understand.
Sorry, 10 minutes.
15 minutes. They can help you stay calm and stay centered. And here's the deal. We need to stay calm and we need to stay centered. All right?
Oh.
So we're going to look at this a little bit. You know, we need to get out of place where we can stay that way. We can deal with our stuff. Here's one of the things. We need to identify our emotions. I've had people that were so angry with me they could tear my head off. And when I asked them why you're angry, the very first thing they would tell me is what? What do you think? I'm not angry. What? Yeah, you are. I can see it. Everybody can see it. The whole world knows it. God knows it. You're angry. We need to learn to identify our emotions. You know, if I'm angry, I need to know that I'm angry. If my feelings are hurt, I need to know that. You know, and I've seen that when I call somebody down in group and something they ought not be doing in group, then, you know, I can see that they've had a little bit of an emotional there, but they don't want to admit that. You know, so we need to be able to identify those emotions.
Okay, so the plan, like I get flared up, like I mean, saying you're not angry, verbally saying you're not angry helps you not to be.
Okay. Yeah. Did y'all hear what he said?
Verbally saying you're not angry can help you from being angry.
And he's right about that. Now, look, here's the deal. What he's talking about is positive self-talk. He said when he feels himself beginning to get angry, he starts talking to himself and talks himself down and says, hey, I'm not angry. I'm not having that type of reaction to all of this stuff. So I'm okay. And that will work, and we should be using that as a form of self-regulation, right? We should be doing that, bringing that down. That is not denying it. When I'm denying it, I'm saying I'm not angry, that's denying it, and that can cause us to go to all sorts of different places. But when I'm saying, okay, I am angry, but I'm not going to receive it, I'm not angry anymore, I'm not angry because of that situation, I'm going to let that situation go, and that uses positive self-talk to bring it.
Consider like a coping skill.
It is a coping skill. It's one of the greatest coping skills as pastors. We can do that. Because we need to keep ourselves calm. We need to keep going back to our family members and trying to get those old relationships back into where they need to be. Then we need to have that coping skill so that we know, look, there's a lot of people in my family. If I go back to them today, they're going to be very super duper defensive. You know, they're going to be defensive. They're going to be angry. They have their feelings hurt. All sorts of different things. And what does those sometimes negative emotions do? If you have somebody that has that negative emotion going on in them, it will elicit the same negative emotion in you.
That causes like lashing out.
Yeah, if you go back to your family and somebody there starts lashing out at you, the very first thing you want to do is defend yourself and lash back. And so that's not conducive to getting back together with that.
Would that still cause a problem even if they said they were just playing?
If they were just playing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. You know, I have seen a lot of times, I haven't seen it in here, and I'm grateful for that. But, you know, I've seen a lot of guys that act like they're on the playground. They punch on each other, stuff like that. Now, why is that not a good idea?
So this is not playing now.
Well, you know,
Because you accidentally get
somewhere that could really affect it, but just playing. It's like an accident. So I had a 12-year-old boy come up one time and just punched the snot out of me in my stomach. And you know, he's 12. That hurt like crazy. Now I'm gonna tell you what I want to do is knock his head off. You know, and when I'm just playing, okay, let me play with you. Playing. Sometimes when I'm playing, other people take it seriously. So I don't need to play like I'm angry at you because if you play like you're angry at me, I'm going to get angry at you. And so you know, yeah, we need to be playing.
But Doc, you can't do that.
No. So here's the deal. When I do have, I need to first label that emotion that comes in my life. I hear my phone ring. Oh goodness! I probably should have taken that call. That call's from Spain. I don't know nobody in Spain.
It's the Spanish chicks.
I guess I don't know. So anyway, once I've got it identified, I need to rate the level of it. I need to rate the intensity of it. I need to know how angry it makes me, or how angry I have allowed myself to get, or how hurt I have allowed myself to get, or how distracted I have allowed myself to get because of that. I need to know the intensity of it. Some of the time, I'm in the lady's office in there this morning, and didn't get angry, but got a little frustrated. I'm in the office there, and we were trying to have a meeting about a situation that's really intense in the counseling situation, and could not do it. Could not get it done. So a little bit frustrated. Got it done after that, but I sat down and I said, okay, where did that level? I always do that. If I get my feelings hurt, if I get a little angry, if I get frustrated, I go sit down somewhere and say, okay, why did that happen? And what level did I let it get to? It wasn't a big deal, you know. So okay, that's no big deal. Nobody got killed, nobody got hurt, nobody got insulted, nobody got nobody got wounded, so it's okay. No big deal.
But just plain. So, person like I said, I have to take this very seriously. This is part of my life.
Yeah.
So ain't no just playing. But I could look at it in sarcastic. Me being away, but I had problems. I'm my ass.
Yeah, and I will.
That ain't no just playing situation. So,
and I will tell you that that's how I usually take it. Yeah. So we don't want to be just playing. Now you may be playing, and I may be playing because I like to goof around and do crazy stuff, and may be playing, but not everybody's going to receive that same way, right? So we have to be cautious about that. A lot of times, like why do men get angry? What's the biggest driver? That's fear. Biggest anger is fear. Well, the biggest driver for anger with men is fear. So if you're playing with somebody and they get a little bit, afraid, they get a little bit scared, they're going to go angry. So you don't want to do that. Realize where the intensity looks. Some people can take that. They're just angry about a little bitty thing. A little bit. It's just a little bitty thing. But they go here with it. For most normal people would go here with it. Okay, I don't like that. Okay. I don't like it and I'm going to kill you. We need to know where that intensity is because I need to know myself. If I'm going to regulate my emotions, I need to know where my emotions go. And if I don't, I need to figure out, why did I go there? Why did I allow myself to get that angry about that? Why did I allow that to hurt my feelings like that? Why did I allow whatever that person did or said or looked like Why did I allow that to get me to the place where I was that afraid? Why did I do? Why? I need to ask that of my own self. I need to know where that intensity goes to.
So say like you, if the person comes to, I'm gonna just say, put it like kids or your kids or your significant other, that there's love, right? So that love, like I mean, being the addict or alcoholic or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I was away from them, you know what I'm saying? That could make them go in type of hurt, or like I didn't care about them or something like that, or because I was in my addiction, you know what I'm saying? So
Sure, they
would be lashing out.
right. They could already have their feelings hurt because of what you've done. I'm a complicated grief therapist. I have people come to my complicated grief therapy sessions who are very seriously angry with their loved one who has died. They're ticked off at the person who died. Wasn't their fault. They had something happen. I had a young man who was, I guess he's 24, 25, had an accident in his truck on the way home from work. I went to the hospital to check on him. He had died. I went into the room where he was, lay on the table there, deader than a doornail. Could not find a mark on his body. I'm looking at him. He looks perfectly fine. Looks like he's asleep. Oh, what? Now, how can you be dead? And wife is, she's pregnant and she's angry. She's angry at him. She's angry at God. She's angry, because of all of that kind of stuff. So some of that stuff is pretty complicated, so I need to know. Need to figure out where it's coming from. Here's how to deal with it. The thing about our emotions is they will be dealt with. They will be. 99.9% of the time, I deal with my own emotion. If I get emotional, if I get upset, when I hadn't had enough sleep and when my stomach hurts or when something's going on, my emotions are raw and I get a little bit, then I go to my office and I sit down and I talk to myself, have some pretty good conversations with me, some positive self-talk. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be that way. I don't have to be that person. I don't have to be that one that somebody's always looking at, see what I'm going to do. I don't want to be that person, so I don't have to be that. But if I don't do it, somebody else is. There's people with guns and badges and all those somebody's going to deal with those emotions, so I want to do it myself. So here's one of the things that helps us a lot with this is how we self-regulate. And so here's the deal. The first thing is we need to identify an opposite action. Identify what's opposite of that. Absolutely. You've been studying something in your book there so hard that I know that's going to make you have to go to the bathroom. I appreciate everybody out here. I thank y'all for being here, paying attention and stuff. When you get, the dictionary or something, picking up, you're not paying any attention. So I wish you. So, identify the opposite action. What is the opposite action of what you feel like doing? Now, here's the deal. If somebody comes and yells and screams at me, what do I want to do? I want to yell and scream back. I want to get angry back at them. So what do I do for an opposite? What's opposite of that?
Walk away.
What is it?
Walk away.
Walk away. Yeah, we got that on the wall. Back up, breathe, and be quiet. Also, when you're doing that, the opposite action of what I feel like doing is staying calm.
Hey, say that. I was talking to a fellow the other day, yesterday, that situation, significant other, right? So I say, man, you know what? I'll take it. You know what? So all with it, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And after a while, that can get kind of old. It can get kind of old. But here's the deal: if I want things to stay on a peaceful level, then I'm going to do the opposite of what I feel like. You know, what I felt like in the office this morning when things didn't go the exact way that I wanted them to go. I wanted to get loud and I wanted to get crude and I wanted to get angry, so I did the opposite of that. I excused myself and I calmed myself and let myself cool down. So the opposite of being loud and aggressive, being mild and quiet in the way that we say whatever we say. You know, if you feel like withdrawing, if you feel like getting away from other people, if you feel like just leaving the scene, if that's what you feel like you want to do, and look, as addicts, we should not isolate ourselves. Then what you should do is the opposite of that, and you should go and meet with some people. Go to a group, right? Go to a group. Go visit with your sponsor or some sober support people or stuff like that. So if you feel like avoiding a task, if you feel like you don't want to do something, what should you do? Do it.
Back up, breathe, and be quiet.
Yeah. Back up, breathe, and be quiet. That'll help if you're trying to deal with some anger. But if you're supposed to get a job done, see, I was talking to someone this morning. They were supposed to meet me on Friday, and they do it. And so the meeting that was very, very important on Friday had to happen this morning, had to be forced and had to be shoved in, and I was not happy about it. So I did exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do. I wanted to yell at that person, but instead, I didn't do that. I calmed myself down and thanked that person for at that point. Yeah, came up with a solution. Yes.
I mean, I would think that would be a lot easier to do if the other person on the other end of the confrontation or whoever it may be is a person of power or authority over you, like a boss or a wife. Because then you might handle it a little different, like you said, but if it's not. But if it's just some random strange, you know what I mean?
It still will work because here's the deal. Anger breeds anger. Hurt feelings breed hurt feelings. If you respond to whatever that person is putting out to you, if you respond to them in the opposite way, by being calm and quiet and all of that stuff, then that person 99.9% of the time are going to calm down with you. So one of you, you're going to go with that emotion. Either you're going to go with their emotion or they're going to go with your emotion. Does it work every time?
Never met my wife.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work every time. And it's not going to work with every person. This is why when somebody's angry and yelling and in my face, I'm going to respond quietly and calmly and try to bring that down. Also in my defensive stance.
You also have to.
Yeah. So I'm going to, but it does work, and I've seen it work many times.
Oh, it was like talking about you speak soft. They don't tone it down, so they do what you're saying.
Yes, they do. Yeah. And it does work. So practice the opposite action. And what we have to do is first off figure out, oh, absolutely. You made it almost 35 minutes, yeah.
That's good to you.
Yeah, it is for you, yeah. So we need to figure out when, look, these things happen, and if you're in a situation where you know that those situations may happen, you need to figure out what the opposite would be, and then practice that. I'm getting angry because she keeps going to sleep, but I'm practicing. Okay, let it go ahead. I hear that. That's the other day. He said, I'm not sleeping.
Whenever like you take comments surrounding one meeting, expression, setting, is that you being jovial or passive aggressive?
Well,
Good question. Great question.
I'd like to think that it's some good old passive aggressiveness, you know. 'Cause I can do that really well. No, what I'm doing is bringing it to your attention that you shouldn't be doing. You should not be in groups studying something that's not even part of the group. You shouldn't be doing that, and you should be going. And I know, look, if you got to go, you got to go. I'm 72 years old. Somebody can say P, and I'm ready to go. Let's just go. You know, we're gonna go do it. When you go to those places where you have to take a tinkle test, they don't ever have to wait on me. You know, I mean, all right, we can go do that. But I'm thinking, you know, you can go to the bathroom before group. Group is an hour long, and the second part of it is 45 minutes. You should be able, you know, a young man, you know, like you, what, 17, 18, young, you know, should be able to stay there longer than a 72-year-old guy, you know, that has diabetes and has to eat all the time. You should be able to, but sometimes that's a little bit frustrating, you know. So how do I deal with that? I want to yell at you. I want to say, what in the flip is wrong with you, dude? You ought to be in group to hear the group, not to study whatever you're studying. And you should be in the group, and you should be hanging on for at least one stinking hour or less. You know, I want to do all. Instead of that, I make it something funny. I try to, you know, lighten it up a little bit, but even with that, addressing the issue. You know, but if that's something that you don't enjoy, we're going to talk about that. We can change all. Yes, sir.
I really hate to say it.
Look.
I used the bathroom before I started group, I did, and I have to pee right now. I'm so sorry, excuse me, just 1 second.
Let I'll just go put y'all drinking coffee and stuff.
Like this, huh?
So here's the thing. One of the things that we can do that's very helpful is to keep ourselves grounded. If I don't keep myself grounded, then those kinds of things can bug me. If I live on my emotions, those kinds of things are going to bother me. But if I ground myself, and this is all we talk about mindfulness from time to time, and I used to not be a very big mindfulness guy, but I'm kind of a fan of mindfulness nowadays because it does help. You know, and whatever helps. So mindfulness has what is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique that we can do to help ourselves get ourselves grounded. So that's just looking around. That's just getting ourselves to that place where I'm grounded in what I'm doing. So I need to name 5 things that I can see. You know, I see that picture, I see that thing, I see the clock. They're just name. I'm looking around, and my emotions are wanting me to go angry. My emotions want me to get my feelings hurt. My emotions want me to do all of this kinds of stuff. And what I'm wanting to do is get myself back into the present. And so what I do is look around first and find those 5 things that I can see. Okay, now, if I'm looking for 5 different things that I can see, that keeps me from thinking so much about my feelings at that point in time. It gets me out of my feelings and gets me back into the present. So I'm looking at those 5 things, trying to figure out what they are, and then I'm going to name 5 things I can touch. I can touch the desk, I can touch my chair, I can touch my paperwork, I can touch all of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to put that in my mind. I'm going to name those 5 things, and I may be even able to touch those 5 things, and that's going to bring me back to that place where I'm not dealing with my emotions. I'm dealing with things that I can touch, and that helps me to stay away from the emotions that are negative at that moment. What emotions are negative?
Anger.
Anger can be negative. It's not necessarily so. Every emotion can be negative, but they're not any of them necessarily negative. You know, an emotion is not good. An emotion is not bad. It's just an emotion. Sometimes we do bad things when we're in the midst of an emotion.
Uh, jealousy.
Jealousy can be good, but jealousy can be bad. If I'm jealous, how can it be good? My God tells me He's a jealous God. He says, "Look, you love me, you only love me. You don't go to any other God. You just love me." That's good. I can be jealous of my ability to be a good person. That means when I find myself slipping off that place where I know is where a good person would be, then my jealousy would make me want to pull that back. But if you're jealous of the other people in your life, that can become pretty bad because you become demanding, and that's not good at all. That's
way that I use jealousy as a positive. My girl, she would tell me she this guy or whatever. I would use that jealousy to hurt her. I would use that jealousy to hurt my feelings surrounding me. And then use jealousy to for her instead of myself.
Of your day.
And those things, yeah, and you can look at that. Every emotion has a good side and a bad side. So then you can name 3 things that you can hear. And look, when I'm up here, I hear the kitchen's noisy, I can hear Mr. Washington's telephone. And emotions pop up because when I hear his telephone, I'm thinking, what would he do if I threw that thing out the front door?
Oh, no.
How would he respond? And if he's about half his size, I might try it, but I ain't gonna do it. Yes.
That's why child phone. So
Yeah, you ought to, and that's the rule. We ought to be cutting our phones off, but y'all know that at this point, and I do apologize, and I'm sincere when I tell y'all that I apologize for that. But the way that my wife is right now, my phone's going to have to stay on. Because if she calls me when I'm, and I still have a doctor I have to go to on the 30th, and they're supposed to. So, a couple of things. Yeah. I know you can. Yeah. So, name 2 things that you can smell. Feet. You can smell your feet.
Fried chicken.
I smell
Fried
real vegetables.
I'm gonna tell you a little story, and I don't want y'all to think any less of it. I used to be a compressor mechanic about 40, 50 years ago, and they made us wear steel-toed boots, steel-toed shoes. You can get tennis shoes with steel toes in, but they cost a little bit more. So what we would do is just get the black tennis shoes that didn't have the steel toes in them. And as a safety guy would walk by, he really couldn't tell the difference, unless he got up close and stuff like that. But those black tennis shoes will make your feet stink. I was working in a shop. In that shop, it's like 300 degrees, and my feet would. And we had safety meetings, so I went into the safety meeting, and I got those shoes on, and we're sitting around this huge big old table for that safety meeting, and I could actually smell my feet through the shoes. I didn't have to take shoes off. They were stinking through. And that's pretty bad stuff. And so, the guys around me could smell them too. So I threw those shoes away, but and I didn't buy any. I bought stuff, so they were pretty bad. And then name 1 thing you can taste. Chocolate. You can taste. Got some chocolate. It's supposed to be something you got right there. I can taste my coffee. I can taste my water. Strawberry moon pie. I can certainly. Just because you said that, I can just about taste strawberry moon pie right now. When I was growing up, the only moon pie they had was the chocolate one, right? With all the marshmallow between them. But they were that big around, and nowadays they're smaller and smaller and smaller, they're about that big around, but they've got all sorts of different things. So we can do all of that kind of stuff to kind of that all that does, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that takes our mind off of whatever goofiness you know, if I do something that if I let my emotions override my intellect and I do something that I shouldn't do, it could affect somebody else's life for the rest of their life. I know a lady who has a titanium plate right here at part of her nose and all of that. Because what I don't know, everybody may know it. So ladies' faces, the bones in their faces are more porous than a guy's. So where you can punch a guy in the face and it hurts like the dickens for a couple of minutes, and then okay, everything's all right. When you hit a girl, that just shattered. And so she had to have all of that redone in there. So sometimes those emotions that we allow to override our intellect can change somebody's life for the rest of their life. She's still in pain today because some guy thought it was a good idea to punch her in the face. So that's still good. And I know of folks in my grief thing where they have gotten so hurt, they've got their feelings so hurt that they walk out and close the door on a relationship, and 20 years, 30 years later, they're still thinking about that relationship. Yep. Y'all know who Melody Jackson is? Melanie Jackson.
Yeah. The woman that got killed by
That was a girl I was in love with in 6th grade. Well, I don't suppose you are, but the point is I'm 72 years old now. I was in the 6th grade. I was totally in love with Melanie, and I still remember that little girl. All them years later, I went over and told her, I like you. She said, you stink. Okay. Yeah.
Chanel Swan.
Chanel Swan, I remember her.
Yeah, June gave her a posted swinky.
Yeah.
She quit being she's a dinner party. So I go, not but a hostess swinky. Yeah, up until today, I still like Chanel Swan.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
I heard.
She was on my mind a long time, and then I fell totally, utterly in love with somebody else. What's her name? Annette Funicello. Anybody know who Annette Funicello is? You guys are y'all. It's so sad. Y'all don't know who Annette Funicello is. She back in the 60s, she made all of those Bikini Beach Party movies. Bikini Beach Party. All of the guys went to see the one that was called The Invisible Bikini. We all went. It wasn't true. So anyway, we can do all of that stuff. And here's the thing. We can also do some deep breathing, inhale and hold it for 4 seconds, and then all of that kind of stuff. And then one other thing that we can do that's fantastic is self-soothing thoughts, self-soothing speech. Talk good things to yourself. Yes, sir.
Another cool thing is when you hum for longer than 5 seconds, it releases nitrous oxide.
Okay.
You do what?
When you hum longer than 5 seconds, it releases nitrous oxide. It's good.
I hadn't heard that one, but I'm going to look that one up. Maybe they just getting high. So, self-soothing. One of the things that you can do that, when we get angry and when our feelings get hurt, those two emotions cause our blood pressure to go up, and they cause the temperature in your body to go up. So splashing cold water on your face will bring it down. If you have those issues, it'll bring it down. In our anger facility, we actually have water guns. And have you ever shot somebody with a water gun? Of course, you know, and we have water guns with cold water in them. And we let everybody know you have to agree to it when you come in. If it looks like you're getting angry or something, we're going to all shoot you with our water guns. And we will, and it does help. And most of the time we have people, they'll laugh and it's okay, all right, and they actually do calm down. We've had one guy just leave, never come back, so maybe he's calmed down a different way. Take a cold shower. I'm going to take this. I don't know about you, but it's an impossibility for me to take a cold shower. I can splash my face with cold water, but I cannot take a cold shower. I've tried to. So, one other thing is positive self-talk. We don't allow negative self-talk in our little facility. But I've had people come in there and I say, well, why are you here? I'm an angry person. I have anger issues. I'm just always angry. We don't allow that. When you do that, you convince yourself of that, and you're angry all the time. And when you say, well, I don't know why, man, because you say so. Walk around telling yourself you're angry all the time, and you're going to be that. So we have positive self-talk. You walk around, I'm not angry. I don't have to be angry. I don't have to do those things. I don't have to be that way. I'm calm. I'm collected. I do the right thing. So it's very, very helpful to do that. Reassure yourself with calming phrases like, this is a temporary situation. A big deal?
No.
This is not a big deal. This is a temporary situation. I can handle this. Some of the other things that we have folks say is, I'm a good dad. I'm a good mother. You all right?
Oh, yeah. Never heard of tapping?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
But not usually in group.
Okay. Once again, that's expressive.
I can deal with this. Please, that's that good, positive. I can deal with this. I can deal with that. I don't have to let that bother me. I can deal with it. Look, believe me. I can deal with it.
We're all bad.
Positive affirmations can help shift your mindset. If my mindset, whatever my mindset is, positive self-affirmation can shift that. So, self-affirmation. When we close down the group, almost every group, I give a group affirmation, a positive affirmation. Because most of the time, this group, we're vocal, we ask questions, and most of us are not asleep or listening and stuff like that. And so this group gets a positive affirmation just about every time it shuts down. There are groups that we have had here that got no affirmation at all, didn't. Now I can give myself a positive affirmation, which is a really good idea. That's what positive self is. And as we are told in the United States of America not to do that. We're not supposed to be, we don't want to have good self-esteem. Mom and your dad and all those people tell you not to toot your own tutor. Don't say good things about yourself. Let other people say good things about yourself. Well, you know what? If you don't say good things about yourself, you may not ever have good things said about yourself. Everybody here has good things in their life. And everybody here has good attributes. Right? You do. And so you need to be talking about your good attributes. Who are you going to talk to about them? You don't need to go around telling everybody how good looking you are. You don't need it because that would be a lie for most of us. But you don't also have to be going around telling everybody how strong you are, how wonderful you are, how anything you are. Because that would make you look like an egotistical freak. But you can tell God, you can tell your higher power, and you can tell yourself, right? Or you can tell the guy sitting next to you if you've got to talk to him about something. Might as well be something positive about yourself. What was it?
It's relevant.
Was it relative? Okay. So you can do that. You know, there are good things about you. And you need, look, you need to hear the good things about you more than anybody else needs to hear. Huh? You do. You need to hear them. There's plenty of people in the world to tell you the bad things about you. Right? Plenty of people. Is that your idea? All right. Thank you guys. Look, we're going to take a break here in a minute. And we'll be back about 15 minutes after. Y'all go ahead.
I'm good. Want me to tell you what it is? Let me tell you. Are you shot honey bun, tuna fish? That ain't coming up this time to say. It's a hook shit. It's a hook shit. Watch it over there where else before they Still. Only one. Only one. So I'm gonna tell you what it is. I think. Alright, then. You can't go and be anywhere without being a man. And number two, that's why that 17-year-old. That's point. And 30 years experience. Maybe about oh, yeah, but so big part of it, 45 pounds. No, you know, like it's like this week is like 30. Yeah. And you know what I was talking about? Yeah. The real that's why I said, you know, but that's what I told you. I said, I didn't snap. Because I could have had that over here. The guys here really appreciate it. It's so big the next person comes to the best out of express, fix yourself, it's trash. Cushion on is torn, small, can be fixed. It's the service that we have. That's the leg press. That we can take the day away. Get behind that. Live. I'll bring it back. Good job. So you got drugs? that truck over shit. Delta Force operator. Well, you know what? God damn. That's it. Don't have any business that down. So, I'm gonna tell you what I told you that time. Really fucked over y'all. And it hit you yesterday. I was like, I got a long way set. All mine, kids don't even do this. It's up to them. Long clan, what you want to do? I'm going to do the best well, bench is the cushion on the bench is shit. But I mean, it holds, and then they have a leg with where you just slide the weights on. Or with the oh, I just feel like thanks. But actually, I'm perturbed, but I just built on it. So look at a little, we have a conversation. Okay. I don't know what to start. I'm going to start right here. I'm more disappointed in this. Somebody in the room told me, but sure. Yeah. But we don't have a house. It's called our staff. That was their solution. Yeah, right. What's up, Paul? Yeah, I got the bench and dumbbells. I got dumbbells. You got that? Oh, that's what you need? That's what I got. I'll get it. So I see y'all doing it. Now I'm looking out the window, my kitchen, and I see him in the back like I'm but it's just sitting there. I got a shake it out there. Shake it good. So what you gonna do? No, I'm bringing it in. Bring it in. I don't want to go to outside. I don't know. I'm bringing it. This is possible. Where's your positive? whole bunch of this real workout for that. The Olympic bar. They got that thing called yeah. Yeah. Two back or times. Huh? Yeah. Hey, divide it out, huh? You say it, you know, see, YouTube, we can part at the same time. And oh, come back and baseball, right? Yeah, this is that's been that's 45 days. Yeah, yeah, I'm with it. What? How do you go? Yeah. Does. And then you got that little long distance. So you got that's got to keep it on speed. I'm just saying, you can't have the same, so at this point, as a grown man, yeah, as a grown man, yeah, grown man, as a kid, no, like, nothing. But I just want to say, and I'll be like, Beating him and he just for him. Right inside. Good. Right down good. He said, that thing, just like got one here, one there, one here. You have to understand. But I mean, education. I was old. And I'm good luck. Good. Yeah. Oh, chill, righteous. Give it up. Give it up. Rich. I mean, it's a real smooth deal. Yeah. They were cousins. I know, so I already have. Oh, man. I do. Just so I tried to be, but and it should make me do. Yeah, and we can see. Okay, you got one, but I can't do it because I haven't seen you there. You understand what I'm saying? I miracle things when I send somebody. And I said, okay, let me go down. Thank you very much. You know, yeah. That's what I go back to say.
And the HHSC signage maybe somewhere. HHSC signage there.
I think I'm the only one that doesn't tap.
I think you are. All righty then. We're gonna get started again and look. I don't know how long we're gonna we're going to be here, but we're going to see what we can get done. A whole lot of the time, when we're dealing with families, we have to deal with some particular things, and a lot we need to be able to let them know what they can do to help. Supporting, when your family is supported through recovery, it's a journey that also requires a personal commitment on their part to help. So not only do we have to have a personal commitment to be in our recovery, which means we're going beyond sobriety. Remember the difference between sobriety and recovery? Sobriety is what?
A lifestyle.
Sobriety is being sober. Yeah, for a minute. Anybody can get into sobriety for 15, 20 minutes. But recovery is a lifestyle change. If you don't change your lifestyle, you're probably not going to be able to stay in recovery. Yeah, we need to stay away from people, places, and things. That means we're making a shift in that. Those people who are going to stay in your life need to have a personal commitment to help you stay in that and have some family involvement in that. So, one of the things our family needs to understand their role in recovery. What do you think the family's role in your recovery is? Support? What you were going to say? Yeah, they need to be supportive. Is it going to be easy for them to support you?
No.
Not usually. Is it going to be possible for them to support you if they're still deep in an addiction themselves?
Yes.
Oh, they can't support you. How are they going to support you if they're still fighting their own addiction?
No, what I come to realize,
I have no idea.
it's like when you're in your addiction and you don't understand. I talked to you about how
Yeah.
and kind of like that's what it seems like every time I need to be in her eyesight. It's not right. It's like blood pressure.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I really I appreciate any kind of self-help group, because here's the deal: we need some help in this thing. This is not a one-man show. We need help. Al-Anon is a situation that is kind of strange to me, because one of the things that Al-Anon does is help the person who has decided to stay with the person who is using to be able to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to be supportive of the person who is going to stop using. I don't want to be supportive of the person who's continuing to do it. That's not healthy on any level. So I don't want to do that. That's not all that Al-Anon does. So they are good in a lot of things. There's Alateen. What do you think that is? Same thing as Al-Anon except for teenagers. Such a good thing. Here's the deal: the family needs to be part of our recovery if they are in their own recovery, or if they've never had the need for recovery and they're not going to be using around you. As a family member, their involvement in that process is crucial. We need to have our families helping us. We need to have them be part of that. But they need to be informed and be actively engaged in what we're doing. They don't need to just be, okay, everything's going to be fine. They need to be actively engaged in that. That means people tell me they don't like it, but if your family is actively engaged in your recovery, they're going to watch. And if you're not going to group, they're going to let you know. And we need somebody to be willing to do that, don't we? I need somebody, my wife is way good at that. Why didn't you go to group? Tired. That's another relapse thing there. You don't need to be tired. Don't let yourself get what? Y'all remember what halt is? Hungry, angry, only, tired. Why they pick those four? For one thing, it spells out halt, right? The other thing is those will allow you quickly to relapse. So if you get hungry and you stay hungry and you're not eating correctly, you're going to be looking for an out. If you get angry, your intelligence level stops. You'll do any kind of stupid thing in the world, and you get lonely. That means you've been isolating too much, and you're going to wind up using because you're feeling sorry for yourself. And if you're tired, that means you're exhausted. And when you're exhausted, you become a victim and you feel sorry for yourself. And zippity-doo-dah, there we are back in the same old addiction again. So we don't need to do any of those things. So your family needs to be that bird dog. How many people like to be bird dog? Oh, I don't like it at all. Have you ever been bird dog at work? I have had that happen to me. You know, where they're going to watch me, watch everything that I do. All that. It's not a good thing. But when I'm in my recovery, especially in my early recovery, I need to have a bird dog, somebody showing me, somebody talking to me, somebody watching me. But I don't do what I'm supposed to be doing, letting go. Because tell you what, been in my recovery for a minute, but I still need to be active in my recovery. I need to be at my group, and my wife will tell me. If I skip group, she'll tell me. You need to go to group. You need to do this, and I'm appreciative. So they also are there to provide emotional support. What is emotional?
Someone that cares about your feelings.
That cares about your feelings. You know?
Like, cry out or like tell me your emotions.
Yeah, somebody, if I'm depressed, if I'm lonely, if I'm angry, if I'm sad, if I'm scared, there's somebody there that's going to help support me through those things. Because all of those emotions, remember, they're not good and they're not bad. They're just emotions, but they can lead to bad places if we let them. Some of those people in those complicated grief things, how do they eventually deal with grief?
He's right.
They'll kill themselves. Suicide. If that grief does not get dealt with at some point over the years, we lose a lot of people because we need to have somebody that when I'm in a bad way, they're going to be there. They're going to be willing to come and do that. So the roles that the family can play in my recovery is emotional. They're going to be there for emotional support. When something's going on that I need somebody to talk to, they're going to be there, right? And then they're going to be supported in practical ways. What's a practical support? I like that. Raise your hand and figure out an answer afterward in case you get called on. Yeah.
Practical solution to something would be like follow books, following the rules to get it done the right way. It's a practical way to get it done. It's not breaking no rules. You're not skipping no steps. You're getting it done practically.
Helping you stay on line with that.
Promoting accountability actions.
Yeah, that's a good one. Promoting accountability, letting people know, hey, you're supposed to be going to group. How about paying your car note? Yeah. It's your responsibility to pay for your car and your house and your food and all of that kind of stuff. But sometimes we need some help in that, especially in early recovery. Don't have a job, don't have any money to bank, don't have anything. Now, we've had some people come through here that, we had one gentleman who owned his own business and he was bringing in $10,000 a month. Does he need some help with those practical type of things? No, he can help other people. when it comes to finances and stuff like that. But some of us, and I know I was homeless. I was living under other people's houses. I lived for a long time under an antique shop, and so I didn't have any money at all. I was looking for food being found on the side of the food. That's when I figured out that if you go to the washateria, you can find money in. Now, people, there's quarters, you can find quarters and nickels and stuff that people have lost out of their pockets. If you get back in that day, that was a long time ago. If you find enough quarters and nickels, you can get a hamburger or a bottle of stuff. So, and being supportive, those family members, that's one of the big things, they need to be there for you. And one of the things, and I've had to talk to people about this, being supportive does not mean always telling you you're right and everything is okay and all of that kind of stuff. Sometimes being supportive means telling you you're screwing up. That ain't good. You need to be at group. You need to go to church. You need to do something with your life. You need to get a job. If you're my kid or if you're not, if I'm your sober support group and you need to come stay at my house for a week, maybe 2, I'm okay with that. You come on, I will feed you, pay for all the things you need. And then after that, we need to be looking for a place to go. So we don't need to forever be staying at mama's house. So why do you think it's important for families to be involved in recovery? I think that's the very first thing. We can't do it by ourselves. Just to be all of these things we just talked about. Just to know that somebody somewhere cares enough about me. I will tell you, when I was living under the house, I didn't think anybody in the world cared whether I lived or died, and that might have been true. At that point in time, if I'd have died under that house, the only people who really would have cared at that point in time were the people who had the house, because I started smelling after a while. So at that point, but it wasn't long as I got into my recovery, I had people supportive of me who were helpful and who didn't have a problem telling me that I should go do something and keep my mouth shut, do some other stuff. So one of the things that family needs to do is being supportive of my treatment goals, being supportive of my recovery goals. One of the things we need to have in our life are goals. We need to. One of my biggest goals when I first stopped drinking, my biggest goal was what? Stay sober today. I actually had a written down goal because I had a person in my life said, you need to write all of your goals down. You need to write them all down. I said, okay. So I got my paper and my stuff and I'm shaking and I wrote down, stay sober today. That was it. That was all. I didn't have any other goal. And I made it that day. I didn't make it the next day, but I made it that day. So I relapsed the next day, but I did fine that time. I didn't do fine, but I made it that day. And then I had to start back over, and I had to do that several times. But at some point, I was able to do that, and that's still my goal. I still have that goal in my life. I want to be sober today. So I managed to go to school and all that stuff and get some stuff. And I was back then, I had some stuff and I have some things in my life that will never get out of my life because I had some anger issues and I took those out on other people. And that's why I'm an anger therapist now, because the anger that was in my life. So one of my goals was unrealistic because I put down, after a while, I've come up with about 10 goals. But after a while, I came up with a second goal was never to be angry again. Is that realistic? No. No, that's not realistic at all because I have to live in this world with you guys and with you ladies. I have to live in this world with other people. And I have to live in this world with cats and dogs. And I have a scar here and a scar there. when I was a kid, my brother is a cat person and had 27 cats. And one of them jumped through the window, and we were poor folk, so we had the window boarded up so it would be cooler. And with a stick, and that cat hit that stick, and it fell on that cat's tail, and the cat's hanging out. So I told my little brother I had this brilliant thought that ran through my mind. I said, "Look, what I'm going to do, Don, I'll run over and grab the cat to get the pressure off of his tail, and I'll lift him up. And then you open the window, and we'll let him go." He thought that was a brilliant idea, and I went over and grabbed that cat, and that cat split me open on both thumbs and all of that stuff. So, I wasn't a happy camper after that. Y'all know how far you can throw a cat if you swing it by the tail? Pretty far. See, he's a cat flinger too. Yeah, I had a good reason, but I don't know why. So your loved ones need to support, understand. They need to know what your goals are. If you'll tell them, that's how they're going to know. You tell them what your goals are, and then they need to be supporting your goal. So my wife and my children and everybody else is firmly in support of my goal of just for today. I don't want to drink just for today, and I'm not going to. And my other goal is not get angry today. Okay. I've already been frustrated today, but frustration is not anger, is it? It's the first cousin to anger, but it's not anger, and it can lead you to anger, but it's not anger. So we need to know what our loved ones are working on. We need to know if I have somebody, or if I'm going back to my family, they need to know how they can support my goal that day. So if my goal is not to drink, how can my family support that goal? Not drink around you, absolutely. Not have any booze in the house. If you have something in the house, I'm going to find it. I will know where. I will find it. If I'm going to be, I will find it. So, they need to make sure there's nothing in the house. I won't go to my brother-in-law's house. We used to go every Christmas, and every Christmas somebody gives him a bottle of booze. Doesn't drink, but except on Christmas, he will have a shot and he'll drink a couple of beers on Christmas. So, if you go in his kitchen, y'all know how those cabinets are up, and they got the room seated in the cabinet. All across his kitchen, bottles of booze that he all open. He's had one drink out of each one of them, then set them up there. I don't know if they're still good. Some of them have been up there for 30 years, so I don't know if they're still good or not. They're sitting up there. Can that be triggering to an alcoholic? Yeah. And every year, his name is Herschel as well, but every year he would do the same thing before we left there. He'd start getting a little mellowed out. He's had one shot of bourbon or whatever they gave him, and he's had a couple of beers, and every year he'd come in and he said, I know you're in recovery and everything, you don't drink. But I wouldn't be a good host if I didn't offer you a beer or a shot but we stopped going over there. Because, I don't know. I wasn't really triggered by that, but I'd be in that situation. So if you don't drink, I don't want to be around you. So they also need to know how you're going to measure your progress. So they need to be with us when we celebrate small wins. First day that I made it from morning to night without a drink, was that a small win?
Yes.
It was a win. It was a big win. And every day past that is another super duper win. And I celebrate at the end of the day, I'm talking to God on the way home when I leave from here. thanking Him for whatever we got done, good group or whatever. And then, before I go to bed at night, I thank God for a sober day. This day was sober. When get up in the morning, I thank God that it's going to be a sober day. And then when I go to bed at night, I thank God it's a sober day. It was a sober day because I will tell you, going fast now, I will tell you that, I have people that I know that's been sober for 30 years and then relapsed. So, this disease stays with you forever, so it's always possible. It's always a possibility that today will be the end of it. But, I'm hoping that never happens. We also can address little setbacks in some constructive ways. The family can be really, that's not something you really need to do. Or that's a little setback there. You didn't go to group today. Why not? That's a big one for me. Sometimes, look, I don't know how many of you attend a lot of groups. Got an AA group that I go to. Sometimes I don't want to go. Sometimes I'm tired. They have it all the time, but that I go to is at 6 o'clock at night. It goes from 6 to 8. And so
Come and get some.
say that again.
Come and get some.
Well, it's about 50 miles from here,
That's cool.
and not allowed to. Counselors are not allowed to ride you in our personal vehicle.
Oh, you got a van? You got a, what's that thing you got? That RV?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah. All right, so you wait on me. I'll do that. See, and look, y'all know I'm in recovery from lying, right? This man over here making me lie. I ain't never gonna come pick him up. I ain't gonna do that.
No, I didn't make you lie. I wanted to lie.
Yeah, you made me do it. You made me do
I
it.
didn't make
No, you didn't. I'm too good at that on my own.
Drive Mr. Seconds and follow.
All right, now we coming to.
You can
Now we talking some good stuff now.
Yep.
Yeah.
My group is in a church. I can't tell y'all where. But it's in a Catholic church, and it's a good little. So, look, also your family, we talked about this a little bit before, but if your family's really serious about supporting you and all of that stuff, they can also attend some therapy and support sessions. They can go to those Al-Anon things. They can go to AA and NA with you. They can do that. Attending therapy and supporting treatment sessions can provide you with valuable insights into the process and allow them to stay connected to our progress. If they really want to support us, they really want to be there for us, then they can go to some of those groups with us. Has your family ever gone to any of those? Some of the AA, just regular AA groups are open groups, right? And your family can go and just sit in to see what happens. And this sometimes is a really good idea because a lot of the time your family doesn't know what that's all about. So sometimes it's good for them to go in open groups and just hear some of the war stories and see what's going on. So, they can be going into individual therapy sessions with you sometimes. They can do that sometimes. But I'm not a proponent of that. I think you need to go into those by yourself unless it's a couple type. There are family therapy and counseling sessions available out there where your family can go in with you. I've done quite a bit of marriage counseling and family counseling. And so your whole family can go into a counseling situation. And it is a ton cheaper than doing it individually. How much does a counseling session cost? Mine's $125. So it's pretty expensive. But if your whole family goes, it's $125 per hour if you got 4 members of the family. But if each one wants to visit, it's $5. It's pretty good. I'm a crook, the man says. I've been accused of a lot worse than that. So, well, there are things out there that could go. But the point is, you have to get down to the place where are they willing to do that? And if they're willing to do that, that's it can be super duper helpful if your family will go into some of those therapy sessions with you, or if they'll go to an AA group with you, or if they will go to Al-Anon, which is for the family, and that they can get a whole lot of stuff out there from the Al-Anon that's going to help them to deal with us. Because there's a lot of things that this disease causes us to be privy to, causes us to engage in, and when they can understand better why we're engaging in what we're engaging in, it can help. So, then here's a really, really, really big one. Careful. Here's your thing. Here's your woman.
It's in this boat.
Yeah. One big thing that they can do to help us is creating a healthy home environment. Now look, they're going to have to care a lot about you to create a healthy home environment for you. So we've already talked about one of those things. And one of those things is making sure there's no booze in there. There's nothing like that that's going to be in the house. A supportive and healthy home environment can significantly impact your recovery. It's important to work together as a family to create a space that fosters healing and growth. What if you got like a second cousin on your mama's side and he's going to be just on burnt when he comes to your house? So would it be healthy for him to come over while you're there? No, if he don't want to get sober, he shouldn't be coming over. So there's a lot of things we can do there. Think about eliminating triggers. We talked about that one, getting the booze out of your house. That's eliminating triggers. We need to know what might be a trigger. That's when I need to be very open to my family. This might be a trigger for me. My old truck might be a trigger. My boat might be a trigger. Going to that person's, that could be a trigger. Doing this, that, and the other, whatever that is. Watching, y'all ever seen that movie, Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke? You ever seen that one? That could be a trigger for some people. I've had people come and tell me, that sometimes we do stuff on drugs and what they are and how they are used and all of this and I've had people come tell me, man, dude, that triggers me to use. We do the smoking cessation class, and I've had dozens of people come in, man, that just makes me want to smoke. So, okay, I'm telling you, you're going to die. They said, that makes me want to smoke. Okay. So, think about those, creating positive rituals. My family can create, what's a positive ritual that my family can create?
Like, positive ritual is something good.
Yeah. That's what it would be. A good example of a positive ritual would be getting my buttocks up at 7 in the morning so we go to church. Come on, get in the truck. We're going to church. Or come on, we're going to the AA group, or we're going to the whatever group. Come on, we're going to go do this. Put a ritual in place. This is what we do every Sunday. That's what we do every Saturday after. Getting a positive ritual in our place, introducing activities that support recovery. Go join the gym. And take whoever you're supporting, take them to the gym with you, get them to working out. Exercise is one of the best things we can do. You don't have to belong to the gym, but it really, this little Planet Fitness over here, really like that. They've got all kind of junk, and they've got all levels of people in there. There's a elderly lady, of course you can go to. How have held it this long? Man, I know. But there's an elderly lady that comes over there to that gym, and she works out, but she wears a dress all the way down to her shoes, and she worked out like that. They're fine with that, whatever you want to do. So that's a good thing. That's a good ritual. Once every other day, we go to the gym, whatever we do there. So another thing, we need to have some good, positive communication. We need to learn to talk in our family, discuss recovery openly. A lot of the times we deal with guilt, shame, and remorse over what we've done. We need to be able to talk about the fact that I've got a problem and I'm in recovery from my kids, family, whoever else is in. And we need to be, sensible about it. If you got a 10-year-old kid in there, you know you got a 10-year-old kid in there. But 12 years old, 15 years old people like that, they know, what's going on. They need to know that. Don't have any judgment. Create a safe place in our homes for everybody to express their feelings. Have y'all ever had an intervention? Seen anybody in an intervention? Yeah. Those can be good. Those can be nasty. Every intervention works. Oh yeah, I know mine wasn't good, but I will tell you this: that the percentage of interventions that work is 100%. That doesn't mean that you got sober after the intervention. It means you know what your family felt. Yeah, it got brought to your attention. You know what your family's going through. You know how they feel about what you're doing. And so it's good.
What it did for me was it allowed me to set goals that are based around my family and how I need to tighten up so that I can get back.
Yeah. What it did for me was show me that there are people who cared whether I lived or died. Showed me that there were people who were willing to say, hey, it didn't stop me from drinking, but it made me for a while try to hide it harder. Oh my God, they seeing it and they care and they're worried and oh my God, I have to do something. But quitting didn't enter into it at that point.
I left Texas for like 11 years.
I left Mississippi. That's
what's that? Right? So, I remember the conversation by being in a alcohol where it affects a certain part of the central nervous system, things like that. So, because not the organ, due to the type of alcohol or drug that destroys certain membrane or actually like cell, something like that, to bugs, destroy that, like basically like so going back to stay sober for one time or sober. So it tends to go back.
well, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And his question was, you use drugs and alcohol and all of that stuff, and it's going to destroy portions of your brain. It's going to mess it all up. It's going to tear things up. It's going to tear your body up and all of that stuff. Does it repair itself over a period of time? To a certain period of time, to a certain extent, it will repair itself. Your brain will shrink up to 20% of its mass if you use drugs and alcohol past 20, 25, 30 years. And that's going to, your brain is pliable and it will begin to repair itself, but you're never going to have it all back again, and it's never going to come back to where it's supposed to be. But one of these days, perhaps this week, we'll have a session that is on that. We'll talk about what we've done to our brains and stuff like that. So we need to be setting boundaries for a balanced family system. We need to have boundaries that limit, to establish to protect our mental and emotional well-being. I need to have a boundary, and we already talked a bit about boundaries. There's certain people that don't need to be in my life. There's certain places I really don't need to go, and there's certain things that I don't need to do anymore. So there's some boundaries I need to get set up for there. How we're going to enforce those boundaries, and those boundaries need to be consistently. Be clear and assertive about those things. Let people know exactly what you need, and follow through with consequences when that's not. I do know that one of the things that I wanted to do worse than anything else in the world when I got sober was go back to Charlie Webb's house.
Go back to where?
Charlie Webb's house.
What's that?
Charlie Webb was my greatest friend growing up, and we used everything we could use together. He was that person. My brother told me last time I talked to him, Charlie's dead now. He passed away, yeah. He was about my age, so, he passed away a couple of years ago. And so he made it to about 70 years old, but I had this deep desire to go see, and I had a fellow sat with me and said, okay, let's talk about that. So what do you want to talk about? I said, why do you want to go see Charlie? Well, he's my great good friend in this thing. Think of, why do you want to go see Charlie? I wanted to go see Charlie so bad because I knew that Charlie had what I needed. So, I never did go back and see Charlie. I have seen Charlie. I saw Charlie one time. I went back over to Mississippi after we'd been gone about 20 years. Went over there and visited with him, found out where he was living, and visited with him for about 10 minutes. Didn't go in his house, stayed in his front yard, talked to him. He was a private detective in Meridian, and he said, that's something you don't need to be because police hate you. So, there's also, look, when we get in recovery, one of the places your family can be very helpful is coping.
Sorry.
That's true. No. Coping with stress and challenges in recovery. There's a lot of challenges in your recovery. One of the biggest challenges in recovery is when those old friends find out that you're back. They find out that you're out of treatment. They find out you're at the house. Did you know anybody? Well, don't raise your hand. But if you've ever gone through bankruptcy, the bank will be sending you stuff after you get through the bankruptcy. They'll be sending you stuff because they know you don't have any credit now. You don't have any debt now. You can, so they want to give you money so that, okay, you want to rebuild your credit here. Because they know. Same thing with your friends who used to be your friends. They know that you're going to be, willing and ready and able and all that kind of stuff. So they're there to give you a little something, get you right back to where you were. Because your friends, and I've had people tell me, they love me. Yes, they do, but they do not love you sober. They love you like you were because that's how they know you. They don't know you sober. So we need somebody helping us to deal with that. We have emotional stress. We have financial stress. We have relational stressors that's going to be there for us. So we need to think about self-care practices that can help us do. And then they need to be celebrating progress and maintaining helping us to maintain hope in our recovery. So thank you, gentlemen. You guys did a good job today. I appreciate y'all. Anybody have any questions, comments, or snide remarks? Thank y'all, Miller. Okay. See, yeah. Come see